You're here because you want to know one thing. Will they regret leaving you? And by the end of this video, you'll know the truth about dismissive avoidance and regret, because we're going to uncover the 4 emotional stages they go through after a breakup, how to spot the signs of regret, and what to do in each stage so you don't push them farther away, or even more importantly, you don't lose yourself trying to win them back. They told you they needed space. They said they just needed time. Maybe they even rebounded to someone new. But when avoidants go cold, it feels like your relationship never meant anything at all to them. So let's dive right in to really get inside the head of a dismissive avoidant. You have to understand how their subconscious mind works. So let's talk about what happens beneath the surface. Your subconscious mind is like the background software running your life. It holds the rules for your automatic beliefs and behaviors, most of which were written when you were very young, long before you were even aware it was happening. Now, as an adult, your subconscious quietly manages your emotions, routines, and gut reactions in the background, while your conscious mind is focusing on what's right in front of you. Now, what you really need to know is this. In a dismissive avoidance subconscious mind, intimacy and the fear of depending on someone are deeply connected. To make this easier to talk about, we'll say love and danger are bonded together in their subconscious mind, which means as adults, when the connection between you is really starting to grow strong, a dismissive avoidant will push you away. And the reason they push you away is because for them, love and danger are bonded together. So once you really understand that, these 4 stages will make much more sense, and you'll automatically find it easier to just relax and let go of the panic when that's happening. Now, right away, let's start with stage 1, relief and rationalization. So in the early days and weeks, it's very common for them to feel more relief than anything else. At this moment, the reason they start to feel that sense of relief is because they've moved away from love, which means they've moved away from danger. Remember, those 2 things are linked together in their subconscious mind. And if you're starting to understand how the mind works, then you'll know it's not a conscious choice. It's just a feeling they have. In the same way that you might smell your favorite food and begin to feel hungry, you don't decide to feel hungry. Your brain automatically connects that sensory cue with a stored emotion and a physical response. Now, understand that on the outside, your ex will most likely look completely fine, maybe even happier than you've seen them in a while. And this first stage is when you're likely going to see them posting on social media, going out with friends, and living a life that seems totally unaffected by you. And that can feel like a real punch to the heart, because it feeds your worst fear that the relationship meant nothing to them. But you have to look deeper, because this behavior isn't really a statement about you at all. It's about feeling a sense of relief. Now, here's why. If you've ever just had a gut feeling, a sense that something bad is about to happen, and you choose to get away from that situation, then you know how an avoidantly attached person feels just before they pull away. And just like them, once you've escaped that sense of danger, you might begin to feel more steady and even happy as the fear you've been holding is starting to fade away. Now, here's the part that flips the whole story. At this point, they might feel a quick flash of sadness and loss, but no regret. And the reason they feel that flash of sadness and loss is because just like everyone else, they want to feel the sense of love and connection you share. But at the same time, as they're pulling away from you, they start to feel much more safe and at ease. And so naturally, pulling away from love is confusing for them just as it's confusing for you, which means you're both trying to figure out why this is happening. Now, for an avoidant, this creates cognitive dissonance. And if you've watched any of my other videos, then you've heard me say exactly this. Cognitive dissonance is the uncomfortable feeling we get when our thoughts and our actions don't agree. And what that means for you and your avoidant ex is this. They feel this pull towards you and the love and the connection that you share. But when they pull away from it, and they don't know why, but when they do, it feels safe. Now, that causes a real internal conflict, and to resolve those conflicting feelings, they quickly begin to rationalize the breakup, focus on your flaws, or come up with reasons why the two of you weren't compatible. And it's all to ease the uncomfortable feelings that happen when your thoughts and actions don't agree. And that's why they might have a completely different story about your relationship and the breakup than you do. So here's something really important to get a hold of at this point. During stage 1, they aren't really going to miss you or feel regret. And the reason I say that is missing someone requires feeling a loss, and right now they're focused on what they've gained, which is this feeling of safety. You have this situation where their psychological walls are at their highest, and any contact from you, whether it's an angry text or a sad message, just feels like another attempt to get past those walls. So this is why no contact is so powerful, not as a trick to win them back, but as a requirement for you to get clear on what you want and need in a relationship, and as a way to allow your ex to move forward with their own emotional process. Remember, they can't start to feel that loss until the noise of you chasing them dies down, and they finally begin to feel calm, as if all the danger is gone. Now, there is no real regret moment in stage 1. This is the least likely phase to get anything like, I made a mistake out of them. So here's exactly what you should do. It may seem counterintuitive, but stay in no contact. Do not argue with their story. Do not send any long essays, no begging, no pleading or convincing, no let me remind them of how good we were. If you absolutely have to contact them, you keep it short, calm, and dignified. If it isn't needed, you step back. Remember, you are not trying to convince them of anything or change their mind. You are protecting your heart and recognizing that at this stage, you're facing the most shut down version of them that exists. Now, the second stage is distraction and numbing. Once the initial relief has really started to settle in, a lot of dismissive avoidants slide into distraction and numbing. And to you, that can look like they're diving into work or new hobbies. Maybe they're suddenly becoming really social, going to parties, traveling, dating. Often you'll see them posting on social media, and it just seems like they're always doing something. Now, this is the stage where people tend to feel the most pain because the avoidant looks fine, and it feels as if they've moved on overnight. And this is where they break their own boundaries and fail at no contact because they start to chase, text, call, or write them a long, heartfelt letter that ultimately gets ignored. And if it doesn't get ignored, the reply is short, polite, and emotionally flat. So you can't help but wonder if they've moved on without you or if you ever meant anything to them at all. Now, this is the point where the pressure builds for both of you. So let me explain what's really happening underneath the surface. Before everything changed, you could really feel this special connection between you. But that same connection triggered their subconscious attachment system, and it set off their internal alarm that something bad was about to happen. So they started to pull away from you. Now, at this point, if you went no contact, and if the two of you have had some time apart, then that alarm and the feeling of danger will start to settle down and relax. Right at this moment, feelings of loss, confusion, and emptiness will start to break through. But that's when they dive into work, hobbies, or even new relationships as a distraction. In psychology, this is called suppression. And suppression is a semi-conscious behavior, which means they know they're staying busy, but they don't fully realize why they are staying busy. It just feels natural to dive into things like this when those emotions are starting to stir underneath. Now, what's really happening is that their subconscious is protecting them in the only way it knows how, which is by redirecting their focus away from painful feelings and towards distractions. Now, I know how painful it can be when you see them there living their best life without you. Or worse, picture them suddenly moving on to someone new. It can make you feel anxious, scared, and push you back into chasing them. Which means this is where the urge to break no contact is at its loudest. You want to just check in to see how they are, to show them you're handling things maturely so you don't lose them forever, or just send a short message so they don't feel like you've given up on them. But here's the truth about that message and your avoidant ex that no one wants to believe. In simple terms, your message wakes up those buried feelings and their subconscious immediately hits the brakes. It gives them a quick jolt of anxiety, and in turn, they retreat, go cold, or double down on distractions. They might reply and tell you, I'm fine, I'm just staying busy, I'm really just focused on me right now. But essentially, you're driving them back to stage one. So if you remember one thing from this video, let it be this. When they're in this stage, when they are suppressing their emotions, it's critical for you to step back, stay grounded, and stop asking them for something they aren't ready or able to give you yet. And what that means is this: stop asking for closure, for clarity, for emotional reassurance, or for connection at this stage. Because every time you push for more, it only reinforces their need to pull away and your desire to chase. Now, this is why you must have a no contact plan. It's all about creating the emotional conditions that allow you both to feel safe while you get clear on what you want and what you need in a relationship. Because once they have truly lived without you for a while, they are more likely to reach stage 3. Stage 3 is where the distractions just don't work anymore, and regret can quietly start to surface. Now, not every avoidant hits this stage in a big way. But when avoidance and distractions stop working for them, then they can start to feel pretty empty inside. Here's what the research on suppression and breakup recovery tells us. When people keep pushing their feelings down, those feelings often resurface later as waves of sadness, restlessness, or nostalgia. And for a dismissive avoidant, this is an interesting moment because they think, I want my independence, I wanted my space, it felt like the right thing to do. So why do I feel so lonely and unsettled now? What's really happening in this stage is that they have a form of cognitive dissonance surfacing once more. That mental discomfort that comes from holding two conflicting beliefs at the same time, which means consciously they think, I want my freedom, I'm better off alone, I don't need anyone. But subconsciously, they still have that same need we all do to feel this connection, comfort, and emotional closeness. Now, if there's going to be any real regret or emotional conflict, this is the earliest realistic window. Not week one, not right after you pull back, not while they're distracting themselves, but later, when their life goes back to normal, the rush of the rebound fades, or just the quiet moments start catching up with them. Here's what's happening to them at this stage and how you'll know they're in it. This isn't always a dramatic, I ruined everything moment where they come rushing back to you. It's more often them missing specific things about you. They start comparing new connections to the emotional safety you provided, and they start feeling a strange sense of loneliness, even though they thought their independence would solve everything. Something critical is happening here, so let me explain it a little more. Their memory of the relationship is starting to shift, and that's because the human brain has this tendency to just allow negative emotions from the past to fade away while hanging on to positive ones. So naturally, over time and through no contact, they find all of the pressure, all of the conflict, and all of the reasons for leaving are starting to get blurry and fade away. And in their place, the good memories of you begin to settle in. Now, as that's happening, they might suddenly remember the way you care, the comfort of just being with you, the inside jokes, and the moments of real connection that broke through their defenses. Because without the immediate threat of a relationship, they can finally look back on those positive memories without feeling anxious. And it's this feeling of nostalgia that often leads to the first direct, but still very cautious, contact from them. This is when you might get that random, out of the blue text, but it's rarely a deep confession of love. Instead, it's disguised as something casual. It might be a meme that reminds them of you, or an old joke or a song. They might send a random happy birthday message or ask a question about something they forgot. Maybe they say, hey, I drove past that place where we used to go and I thought of you. And this is the hardest point for you to not jump back in, because you may see these subtle signs and realize that they finally miss you, that this is your chance, and if you just say the right thing now, you can fix it. But, and this is exactly where almost everyone blows it, if you respond and the tone suddenly gets too serious or too emotional, then their subconscious reads it as danger, not love. And before they even realize what's happening, that old protective reflex kicks in and they start pulling away to keep themselves safe. If you're in this stage with your avoidant ex, then this is a very difficult time to stick to your boundaries. So here's exactly what you should do right now. First, stay grounded in behavior, not fantasy. What I mean by that is this. It's okay if you're enjoying this connection you're feeling when they reach out, but do not automatically assume that nostalgia equals commitment or that they are even ready for a real relationship. Now, second, if you're open to contact, then respond warmly but with self-respect. Let them do at least half of the emotional and logistical work. That means text, plans, follow through is on them. No chasing after them. And last, if the conversation naturally goes deeper, gently bring it to the present and say, if we ever tried again, what would you want to do differently? Then watch for specific, realistic answers. They should acknowledge what's happened and how it's affected both of you, and they should have a real plan for change. Now, if you feel uncertain about how things are going, then ask yourself this: do I feel calmer, safer, and more valued with this person? Or is being with my ex making me feel more anxious, more confused, and just exhausted? It's okay if you don't have all of the answers right away. If you need more guidance and clarity, then get the Breakup Response Power Pack from the link below so you can stop second guessing everything. But right now, just remember your job here is to protect your heart while allowing space for both of you to grow. At this point, we're really starting to get into the final stage, stage 4, which we'll call awareness and emotional reckoning. This final stage is where true regret becomes conscious. At this point, it is all starting to make sense. Now, for the first time, they start connecting the dots emotionally. They become aware of the patterns, shutting down during conflict, avoiding vulnerability, pushing away the people who care the most, and they're starting to have some idea of why it happens. And as a result of that, slowly the guilt and sadness start to surface, not just about losing you, but about how their behavior has repeated throughout time and across relationships. Now, at this point, they may genuinely want to repair your relationship, or at least they own their part and take responsibility, not just to relieve the guilt, but to change something about themselves. And this is most often triggered by something like seeing you move on without them, going through another painful breakup, therapy, or just reaching a point in their life when they finally realize that isolation has never brought the peace they expect. Now, if your ex happened to be a fearful avoidant, then regret hits fast. It's an emotional storm of missing you, panic, and guilt coming at them all at once. But for a dismissive avoidant, the process is slow and logical. But as time passes and things begin to change, they do start to actually regret losing you. And here's exactly how you'll know that's happening. This stage feels different from all the others, and the only way to be sure your ex regrets losing you is to know what to look for. So here are the real signs of regret. They openly acknowledge patterns. They say, I know I shut down, I avoided talking about things, and I can see how I hurt you. You hear more than just, I miss you. You hear, I understand what my behavior did to you. Now, you'll have to pay close attention. Notice if they are more willing to listen and communicate, or if it seems like they are more focused on defending their behaviors. Next, and this is critical, watch closely. Do their actions match their words? Do they consistently show up when and how they say they will? Do they talk about concrete changes they're making, like therapy or new communication habits? And if so, are they following through with them? Now, the one question everybody asks at this point is how long it takes. How many days, how many months, or how many years need to go by before they regret losing me? And I'll tell you just that at the end of this video. But the best way to really know that they regret losing you is this. You've reached a point where you really start to feel like the person you've always hoped for has finally shown up and is with you. Now, if that is happening, or if you believe it's already happened, then I have to tell you something. Before you commit again, I want you to hear this clearly. It's critical that when they come back, you choose from a place of certainty, not desperation. And what I mean by that is this. Oftentimes, we're so desperate to feel this connection that we don't see it for what it is. So as you're accepting this person into your life, I want you to feel certain that they've changed. You want to feel certain that this is the right person for you, and you want to feel certain that they can give you what you need in a relationship. Now, it's best to let that happen slowly, because even with awareness, those patterns don't disappear overnight. Just give it time so you know that this new understanding holds up when life gets stressful. Now, sometimes this stage leads to a healthier reconnection. Other times it leads to a peaceful closure and a deeper sense of self-respect. But either way, your value is not dependent on how long it took them to realize what they had. Now, a lot of people ask me, what is the timeline? How long before they regret losing me? And if you want a deep dive into timelines, then check out the videos linked below. Right now, though, the short answer is this. Most research suggests this can take weeks to months, depending on emotional triggers, life events, and on the amount of contact you've had with them. But the patterns they go through are consistent. And that's the whole point of this. Because now that you've uncovered the 4 stages of avoidant regret, you know not only how and when it happens, but why it happens and when that really means the most to you. Now, if it feels like this really helped you to understand your avoidant ex on a deeper level, then please hit like and subscribe because it helps me know what content to make. And if you're ready to dive even deeper into attachment styles and no contact, watch this next video.